Welcome back. In this episode, we will go over installing, configuring, and customizing our display in Lot ATC. In the previous episode, we went over installing SRS and configuring it for AWACS work. If you do not know what SRS is or how to install it, I would recommend you start there. Without further ado, here's Lot ATC. Lot ATC is going to be the main tool that you will be using as the GCI. To install it, go to their website, which is lotatc.com, and at the top, click on the download page. Scroll down, ignoring everything you see about buying a license or demos, and click on the Download Lot ATC Installer button close to the bottom. When clicking on the downloaded.exe, press Next until you get to the Install folder. If it's not automatically filled, put it somewhere under your program files in the C drive. Then select any maps that you own for the game, such as the Caucasus, Marianas, Persian Gulf, and Syria. Keep on pressing Next until you are prompted to install. When Lot ATC has finished installing, untick the option to launch Lot ATC Configurator, because that only concerns installing Lot ATC for servers, and press Finish. After this, go back to your desktop, and you should see 4 new icons on your screen. The only one that you will be concerning yourself with is Lot ATC Client Advanced. Go ahead and open it. Inside Lot ATC, click on the cogwheel in the top left. You should now be in the General Settings page. In here, you can choose the size of the UI, the theme of the UI, light or dark, and the accent color of the UI. Don't worry about the themes page, since this only applies to people who have a license for Lot ATC. Inside the Map tab, you can change how different aspects of the main screen will appear, such as the colors of the map, ranging rings, and the measuring line. Personally, I have the measure line toggle option turned off, since having it off makes it a lot easier to manipulate the measuring line, which is the main tool that you will be using 95% of the time in Lot ATC. And if it's not on already, show bulls near mouse cursor. In the Items page, turn on Use Advanced Classification. By clicking on the boxes showing the different colors of the icons, you're able to change the color of the icon itself. Personally, I would not recommend changing anything or deviating very far from the default colors, although if you want to make them brighter and more vibrant to add contrast, you can go ahead and do that. Farther down in the item parameters, the option to show item background will add a transparent background in the middle of all symbols on the map, which will look like this. You can set it as you wish. The slider for Define Speed Vector Mode changes how long or short aircraft heading lines will be. I would personally leave this to something like 30 seconds, but I would advise you never turn it off completely, as this is a very important piece of information. Ghost lines and ghost points will either add a line or point trailing all aircraft on the map. Personally, I use ghost points, and they will be shown as rectangles. Above, you can define the amount of ghosts that will be on an aircraft. The Labels tab is where you will get the most customization out of Lot ATC. Leave the first drop-down blank, but on the drop-down for behavior on overlap, change this to nothing. Anything other than nothing will either completely hide information from you, or it will bloat all of the information, causing a lot of clutter, which you want to avoid. In the display section, you can either hide or show the transparent background that's attached to text on all of the icons of aircraft on the map. Here is what they look like. Below here, turn on label follow item color. This makes it much easier to identify the aircraft side being either friendly or enemy just by reading the text on the label. Below this, you can change the back and foreground of the transparent background to labels that I showed before. In the Define Content for Labels section, this is where you will be customizing the information icons are going to give you through basic HTML scripting. The text at the bottom showing normal is what will always be shown on the map. Hovered is what it will show if you put your mouse cursor over top of the label. Click on the friend icon under air. What it's telling you is that it will always show the first 10 digits of someone's username, and then on the line below it, showing an abbreviated version of their altitude and what airframe they're in. Now click on the hostile under air. You don't want to know the username of your enemy. A far more useful piece of information would be their airframe, which should be front and center. To change this, replace where it says name with type. And then you can delete where it says type on the bottom of the second line. Do the same thing for friendly and hostile land and sea targets, since by default it will show you their name in the mission file, which we do not need to know, where we could be getting a far more useful piece of information being what type of SAM site it is, for example, like an SA-3 or an SA-10. Under the Available Values dropdown, you can see all of LotATC's custom values that give a lot more information if you choose to add them to your labels. Things like transponder numbers, Mach number, their board number, ground speed, and you can even change the color of certain text with hex codes. Although I'm not going to get into any of this in depth, so I will leave you to explore this on your own. Do not worry about the Approach tab, since it is only applicable to people doing ATC work. The Shortcuts tab shows you all of LotATC's shortcuts. I personally wouldn't change any of these, but I would remember where your set classification buttons are bound to. The final setting is chat. I would turn off show notification bubble on messages, since when we go to customize what are called our docs later, there is a specific chat tool that you can look at. If you find it is annoying to hear a high-pitched ding whenever someone types something to chat, you can turn it off here as well. You can now close the settings page. Unfortunately, in order to customize your docs, you have to be logged into a server. To do this, press the Connect button at the top left, and then press the button to make a new bookmark on the bottom left. Add your server's LotATC IP in the address bar. In this case, it will be dcs.hoggetworld.com. Leave the port as default and do not mind the comma, as it is just a visual bug and will not affect your ability to join the LotATC server. Set your sudo to the call sign that you chose previously. And the password is the same password that Hogget uses for every single one of its servers. To find all of this information, use the !LotATC command in their Discord server, and it will show up all of the information listed here. Once you've filled everything in, double-click the bookmark and change its name to something you will remember. Once you've finished doing all of this, press the Save icon, and then Connect on the bottom right. We can now begin customizing our docs. If you want a list of all of the available ones, click this Open Options button, and then you can find all of the doc areas available to you, as well as the docs or tools. I'll show you how I like to have my LotATC screen set up. You can expand the left and right areas by dragging this middle bar. I like to have my selection properties window at the top of the left area. You can move it by pressing the three dots over here and press move up. You can expand a window by dragging down on the middle bar, similar to how you dragged the left and right area across. Leave the draw tool here. And I like to have my weather on the left area. So to move it over to the left from the right, click on the three dots, move to, and select the left area. I like to have it on the bottom, so I will keep on selecting it and pressing move down until it's there. The Objects tab is a very important tool that you'll be referencing constantly, and I like having easy access to it. So what I will do is in the three dots drop down, under Move To, send it to a new floating dock. Instead of putting it at somewhere like the top or bottom, I can easily move this around wherever I like it. I like having it right around here. I do the same thing for the bra window on the right. And the same thing for the radio menu, except I will put this in the second floating window along with the bra panel. So what I will do is press send it to the main window floating to, which name lines up with the bra floating dock. All you have to do now is scroll down and you're in the radio menu. I do the same thing with the chat, but add it to a new floating window. At this point, the right area is completely useless to me, and so is the mission properties, so I will go to the open settings in the dock area, untick the right area. If you've previously hidden a dock or tool that you want to see back in the same open settings menu, under docks, if you've hidden one, you can show it here. If they're all marked as shown, they're probably in a dock area that you've previously hidden, such as the right area. At this point, you may start to hear dinging if someone ends up typing something in the chat. Remember, you can turn this off by going into your settings, the chat menu, and play sound on new messages. So a clarification about how some of these tools work. In the Selection Properties tab, if you click on anything, it will give you all of the information that you will ever need to know about someone. If I click on Castle 1-3, it will show you their name, classification, subdimension, their aircraft type, the call sign, which is assigned by the game, not by themselves, which you would ignore, their side number. You can add a comment to them, as well as things like transponder modes, positions, bullseyes, altitude, and whatnot. At the bottom, you have tools such as show on the map, copy their coordinates, display ranging rings around them, set them as the bullseye, and locking your view on this object. Although I would not touch display range rings or set bullseye, as that will throw you off. The draw tool is how you would put down different drawings on the map. You can turn it on by pressing left Alt E or clicking on the slider. The Maps tab is where you can change the contrast or color of different aspects of the map. The Objects tab is where you can see and select everything that's placed on the map. On the drop-down to the right of this menu, you can filter out everything that's shown, such as by classification, by dimension, or if they're human or not, which I would always have on. The bra page is actually not the way that you give people information. This comes useful when there's someone who is not monitoring your radio net, and you can give them a automated call that will appear only to them in their chat box. You can do this by holding right control and then dragging right click from someone to anything. The radio tab only applies to servers that treat SRS more realistically. You would have to enable this and then set your location. Other than that, it is functionally useless. The chat window is simply put your chat, and you can filter it to Lot ATC only, people who are talking in the blue side chat, and people who are talking in the all chat. The weather tab, as much as I like having it, doesn't refresh automatically. So after a certain point, the weather, such as the wind, visibility, and temperature, will change drastically. For example, it could say a 20-kilometer-an-hour crosswind from 89 degrees to 269 degrees. After about an hour, it could be a 40-kilometer crosswind from 269 degrees to 89 degrees. So the complete opposite, which has happened to me before. This is just how I personally have my Lot ATC set up. You can change this however you're comfortable, but I'll show some examples of how creative some people have gotten with their setups. I fully encourage you to go wild with this. In the next episode, we will go over communicating with other players, the fundamentals of conveying information as the AWACS, and various brevity terms that you will be using. Until then, have a good one.